Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing great, all of you. If you remember, last session before the reading week, we finished 05H, more practice. And out of all the parts that we needed to work on, only um, 05I, more practice, all loops was left. So if you please go to the, hi Joseph, if you go please to the course contents, here, you're gonna see, okay, you're not gonna see the file yet because we want to start with some practices. And I'm going to read the question for you. And I want you to start working on it. There are just only 4 practices. This is just a warm-up because we had 2 weeks between the time that we finished loops and today's session. So I want just to have a kind of quick warm-up. Here it says that develop a C# console application using do while that repeatedly prompts the user to enter numerical values, calculates the cumulative, I could pronounce it, cumulative sum and average, and display the results. So we need to say, hey, as long as something, just get the number from the user. And after we finish the block of the loop, not inside it, but out of the block, we need to calculate the sum and the average. Joseph, I've forgotten something. What would be the most reasonable type for getting the numbers when we want to calculate average? This is a kind of general question. Anybody who can answer that, I would be thankful. I just saw Joseph, so I said, let's just ask. You are muted, sir. Don't worry. I can ask Alex. Alex, whenever we want to calculate mean, average, or something like that, what would be the best type for getting the numbers, not to worry about losing? You're muted as well.
I would say double because we might have a decimal. So
Float or double, they both works. Lovely. Thank you very much. And the rest of the question said that the program should allow the user to input numbers until they choose to stop by just saying no, right? Or any other character. So as long as you keep adding the numbers and it asks you, do you want to continue? You're going to say yes, it's going to, or why? Going to keep going. Whenever you say anything else except yes, it's going to just end the loop. So everybody, please start.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Joseph.
Still, for some reason, even my video just went out. I don't know what's going on.
That happens.
What a morning. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, don't worry about the question. Alex was kind enough to answer the question. He said float or double could be the best if you want to calculate the average. Yeah, that kind of thing. So now the question that we have is this one on the screen. Not this one. This one on the screen. I know I'm gonna take at least 4 or 5 minutes, Whenever you are done, please send it to my private chat. Thank you.
Hi guys, good morning. Can you hear me?
Hello, yes, Pooja.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Just to give you a stress, last minute. Alex, done? Not okay. Let's wait for 2 more friends. Awesome. Excellent. Sean, thank you. Michael, bravo. The most complete version. Even you checked if the count is greater than 0, not to be divided by 0.
Starting to play with some other parsing methods. This
Mhm.
one here is only useful sometimes for simple console things. It's all right, but the convert to is still kind of nice because it's better than even regular parse. A little more robust. Anyways.
I think that that parse thing has come from the idea of C, Java kind of things. But
Yeah.
to convert is something that we see in C#. It's like that's the structure that designed for C#.
Yeah, it's a little bit more robust too. Like the others, like if you don't have proper handling, they're gonna fail. And whereas with the convert, like to convert, it's always going to return a value, even if it's not proper. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there is one hint. Whenever you ask ChatGPT to solve the issues, it uses parse, never convert to. So one of the things that when I see, it's like gives me a kind of being suspicious about the originality is that.
That's actually where I got it from.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I originally found just the regular in parse, and then I was playing with something, and it spit out the this one, and I was like, oh. And at first, I thought it was kind of neat because it's kind of like built-in handling, right? But it's got very limited use. So
Nice. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. After Michael, we have Kevin. Let me just quickly see. Flawless. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, so let me borrow what I learned from you and copy your solution, see if I can. Is it just for here? Yep. Okay. So what we do at the beginning, we say that double sum equal to 0. We don't have anything at the beginning in the container. And then we say double my num, the number that we are going to get from the user, and the average at the beginning 0. And the counter, this is the only variable that we are going to consider as integer because we are going to add 1 into it every single time. So we say please enter a number, and then we convert it to double. And that is something that I talked to Michael So you see convert to double mostly uses in C#. We have try parse as well, but that is something that you can see in Java and other languages. This is the beloved command inside C#. It likes it very much. And every time that you get that number, you're going to add it to some. So I could write it a little bit more professional. Joseph, do you have any idea that I can convert it in a way that I can make it a little bit professional?
It's the plus equals.
Plus equals what, and then what?
Plus equals to the counter, I think.
No. Oh, yeah, awesome. We are going to say, this is how we are going, I'm sorry, it should be, no space. We are going to say, whatever sum has, add mynum into it.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a nice way of reading it. Whatever sum has, add mynum into it. And then we are going to say counter plus plus. So we add 1 into counter. We get the first number. Counter was 0. Now it is 1. We ask the user, they want to continue, say yes. Yeah. Okay, Kevin, can you please tell me, do we really need to say that this one, yes or no?
That's the chipmunk voice again.
This is just to make. Okay, so let me just. Michael, don't tease my friend, okay? So
Reza, I'm just gonna leave the meeting and come back because I think everything is zoomed for some reason on my Zoom meeting.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
I can ask Alex. Alex, do you have any idea that do we really need to say that? And what is the use of it if we say to lower? You are muted for some reasons. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
I was saying you don't really need it, like the code will work without it. The reason why we have it is to account for capitals and lowercase. So if the user enters a capital Y, you can still read it the same as a lowercase y.
Lovely. That's pretty much what we wanted to have. So for instance, if user uses either capital case or small case, it works. Awesome. And then after that, we are going to say the sum is obviously sum. We calculate the average, no problemo, because sum is double or float. Counter is integer, but because one side we have float or double, the average will see the precision. So if we just run the and if I say, for instance, 11, 14, and then, oh, sorry. Why? Reza, you have to say yes or no. If I say 11, do you want to continue? Yes. The next number is 15. Do you want to continue? Yes. Enter a number, this time 16. Do you want to continue? If I say no or any other character, it's going to show you something like this. Oh boy. Don't blame me. I have forgotten how to show just 2 precisions. One of the ways was using something. Anybody can recall me? Just type in the thing. There was a
Are you doing for the decimal you're talking about?
Kevin, awesome. You answered the way. Awesome. Yeah. We have 2 ways actually to deal with that. One way is to using a function, round, bravo. The other one is using formatting, like saying float, just we want to have 2 precision. And it's exactly the contents that we are going to cover today, right? We are going to play around with different form of formatting. And I worked last night to have comparison between using or not using that, what's going to happen. So let's go to the next question together, if you don't mind. So this was the first question. The next question is not that much different. So you can Leverage. Let me just do one thing. I'm going to send the previous code to everybody so you can leverage. Oh, so you can leverage the. This time we say use while, but the code for the previous one, you're going to have it. Now modifying the current code, converting it to what? To while. And this time, please make sure that you use a complete answer, yes or no. So yes or no. Goma, glad to meet your handsome face. Hi there. Whoever could finish, please send me. Bravo, Michael. Thank you. Very complete, Eskim. Thank you. Kevin, merci. Awesome. Okay, so guys, let's see what I learned from your code. Actually, I didn't implement as complete as what you did. I learned it, so I'm gonna apply it later. But a simplified version is the first part is exactly the same as what we did before, like for do while. But the problem is because first we check the condition, then we get inside the loop. So first we want to receive that question, right? The answer for that question, that do you want to continue, or that kind of things. Do you want to enter any value? Maybe a better thing is, do you want to enter any number? That's one solution. You might say, Reza, hey, come on, if somebody runs this program, it means that they want to do something, right? So you are going to say answer is equal to what? Y. My apologies, I designed by saying Y, but simply I can just change this one to yes and change this one to yes. Okay, so there are two ways for doing that. First, to initialize the variable that we have, saying that, hey, of course, we want to start with one number, but for the next number, you can ask the question the way that we have. So you see here, do while makes more sense. So there is no one size fit all. You can't say that which one works the best, but it is possible to convert do while to while with just one more bump in our solution. And that is why in some languages like Python, we don't have do while, we only have while, because we can get along with questions that they need loops like while, do while, just by using while loop. Let's just, this time I want to make it a little bit interactive. There is one thing that I very much liked in some of your codes. One of the team members solved it beautifully, that I was not aware of that condition. And that was checking what if a person doesn't enter any number, saying that, no, you know what, it was wrong, I don't want to enter anything. So in that case, counter is equal to what? Is 0, right? So if you say that sum divided by 0, we have divided by 0 issue, correct? So to prevent that, you can check if the counter is greater than 0, means 1, 2, 3, then do the normal job. Else, you have to say we do not have any number to calculate sum or average for you, something like this. Does that make sense? Okay, I want one brave person to explain this code quickly once again and see the solution that is used here is initializing user reply equal to yes. Do we have any volunteer, or I need to use voluntold option? Okay. Please, Joseph.
All right, so to start off, for the what, well, we already know the initial variables that we've already put in, the int number, the double sum, etc. That's normal. So we're gonna, do you want us to start at the while? By the way? All right. So yeah, in terms of while loop, it's gonna read the condition first to see if it goes through or not. From there, it'll ask you to enter the number that it's requesting. From there, the number has to be the command that we have to convert the number into an integer. From there, it will take that number and it will sum it up as the counter increases by an increment of 1. And from there, if you click, it's going to ask you, do you want to continue? If you say yes, you're going to add the next number, and it's going to sum it up like that. And if you hit no, it will come out of the loop and it will give you the average, which is the sum of the numbers divided by how many of the counter the system picked up. In terms of if you've entered 4 numbers, 5 numbers, it'll divide it by 4 or 5 to get your average.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I was talking to myself. Wow, thank you very much. Very
It's not the greatest explanation, but
yeah.
it's
No,
it's on the it's on the path.
yeah, that's very comprehensive. I enjoyed it and learned. Do you have any suggestion to make the code better? Something that you don't like in the code?
The sum equals sum plus num.
Okay, I'm gonna change that. Thank you. And there's one thing that I want to ask my friends to search and ask any language model of your choice, Mistral for Michael, maybe, Claude, ChatGPT, or anything, and just ask our dear ChatGPT, how can we convert to int30 to parse, try parse? Just ask that. Copy and paste. Let me just copy the code for everybody. So now you have that. Ask ChatGPT how to convert to try parse. And which one is better? Just do a little bit of research.
Yeah, this is what I did the other day. As soon as I seen it, I was like, what is that?
Actually, you inspired me to ask our friends to do the same thing because it's quite education for me and for all of us. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, it's a very good thing to cover. Actually, the try parse, int parse, and the convert to, three of them all doing very similar items. However, one of them is very more capable than the others. So
True. Yeah. Exactly. Exclude Michael and I. Michael because he knows the answers. Me because I don't know. The rest have a chance to the rest have a chance to step in and say what you understand from. Mr. Cesar, if you are ready. If not, ask him.
Hello.
Hi.
So the string parse, I'm gonna explain the double parse.
Yes, please.
So the double parse, I sent the code in the chat.
Nice. Yeah.
So
Let's try.
so this one, there are two variables here. The first one is the string number 1, and the other is the number 1. So basically, this line of code will will give us a boolean answer. It's either true or false. So basically, this line of code will try to convert the anything anything data in the string number 1, and it will try to convert it into double. If uh, the data is converted into double, it will give the boolean
Oh.
true.
Bravo.
And then if,
Yeah, you were saying.
sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, if it's not, it will give us the Boolean false. And once it's true, it will convert, the converted data, the double data will be stored to the second variable, which is number 1. And then there we can use the data, the double data, using the variable number 1. So that's it. Do you have any questions?
I have lots of questions.
Okay,
Actually.
sure.
This is new to me, but to the interest of time, I'm gonna save those questions to ask you and other active team members later. But the good thing is, actually, you brought a signature of the, what is the signature? We have a function method, whatever you want to call it there, and it has some parameters that we have. And there's something new in it that I haven't seen before, and that is out. You might say that, okay, Reza, that is beyond what we have. Yes, you're absolutely right. And that is the nature of research. And what I wanted to tell you here is exactly when you start searching, you see, oh, I don't know this part. Then you're going to pick that part and again do the search. What is out actually in that? And it's going to explain to you that normally we have return. But the problem of return in languages like C# is it's going to be a single return. And what if you want to have output several items, something similar to what we have in Python, for example? So we use out, and the story goes on. What I want to tell is, guys, we have two approaches. Reza's approach that I suffered in my entire life of programming. When I saw something, I freaked out. I just paused and I didn't do anything because it was something beyond my understanding. The other approach could be, I learned something till this moment. Now I have another question and I'm going to just keep moving forward and I'm going to add more into my knowledge by searching. It's like a chain that you started from somewhere, you go forward, and believe it or not, after doing this research, you're not going to be the same person after that. And that's a beautiful thing. One of the things, I had a session yesterday, a one-on-one session for one of the online participants. She, not in this college, she always submitted everything flawless. And the midterm exam that we had yesterday was even not 50%. One of the steps that we had to, tackle and find out together is she resisted a lot. They resisted a lot not to accept that there is an issue. And I said, hey, my role is, and guys, please just look at me. And whenever you get into learning with anyone, look at them like this. That imagine that that's a wrestling or tennis game. We went to a match. We couldn't get the result that we wanted. We lost that match. We have two options: to quit playing tennis or to see what was the problem that caused me not to be a winner in that specific game. I'm not a loser. I just missed one game. There are two different concepts. And we need to find out the roots. One of them is, for me, let me just confess. One of the things is I always had this fear that, I'm not number one, because I grew up with that. You always have to get A. You always have to get A+. Hey, come on, there's no race with ourselves. We are not racing with our shadows. We just want to learn and make it better. And if we get back to the beginning of the semester, we know a lot, and that's perfect. Sometimes we look at the gauge and we see that we run out of the fuel, and that fuel is motivation. The way that we can just motivate ourselves is just to encourage ourselves to go and learn something new. I want to, as a kind of just something, all of them has come from the nice explanation that Skim was kind enough to bring to us. I want to tell you something quickly. If you remember, it's going to be recorded. So if I say educate Amazon, and you see that here it is, I go there. Sometimes you have time and you don't know what to do. I want to tell you, one of the ways that you can enrich your learning is using these free courses. Look at this one. Some of them, like this machine learning, they're going to provide you step-by-step learning, and we have for coding as well. If you see that we have computing, very relevant to things that we learn together now, like getting started with computing. And when you finish, it is going to provide you a certificate. Some of them provide you certificates, some of them provide you a badge, and you can put them, place them into your resume. You know what I'm saying? So just for every single things that we learn, one of the things that can motivate you to say, okay, I go to Reza's class, I get 10% of what I like. So the rest of 90%, let me find some places like this. We have another website that it provides lots of free courses, and that is Udacity. And you can just get certificates out of that. And guys, whenever you finish your study, based on 2 features, you're going to have upper hand, because everybody's going to have one certificate. Nobody's going to go to apply for a programming developing job without any certificate. So what makes you, just be in front of the line? There are 2 major factors, apart from co-op, which is awesome. But there are 2 major things. One is having certificates like this. And the other one is using the projects in your portfolio to say that I have done those projects. It could be imaginary projects, or it could be something that somebody has defined, designed for industry or a coach or something, and then you just, completed that. Both of them are amazing, but if you can show that they are implemented somewhere, that would be even better. Let's get back to the rest. Is there any question, any concern until this moment?
Just wanted to confirm, did you mention that these were all free?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, that's amazing. Because
Yeah.
I have something like it. It's called Udemy. Yeah, it's Udemy, and you pay. It's not a big amount that you pay. It's like, I think, $16 per course, and it has all the courses that you need. But since this is free, why not switch?
Well, let me just correct my first thing first. You are rich that you pay for $16, because I wait always to get to $9, the cheapest. Then I'm gonna apply. That's one thing, and I have some stuff in my Udemy list at the moment. But Udemy is amazing, no doubt, especially those that people like Michael, Alex, they are gonna just gather all the learning into a course delivered to people. But the thing is, AWS is kind of like one of the most demanded certificates. Whenever you have, I'm not talking these free versions are those, but they are gonna pave the way for you. For instance, I'm gonna just tell you that and switch to the rest of the course. Guys, we have a certification for security, AWS security. And just search, don't take it from me, search what is the average salary of AWS security. Search what is the average salary for, just search it now, please. AWS cloud certificate. You see, they are around 140.
Yeah.
And US dollar. Right? So if you just see that, these are, and if you look the learning curve that you need, it's like between 4 months to 6 months. You just spend 4 months to 6 months and you get a certificate. There's no guarantee, but if you see that the minimum, there's a minimum for them. There is nothing less than 90, right? Almost 80, some 90s. And that is awesome start. So my suggestion is we have a summer Start, I mean, just doing these free courses, then you can register for an exam. And guys, whenever you spend $500, you are gonna make a schedule for yourself. Trust me. If you don't have any scheduled exam, you're gonna start from tomorrow. That never happens. But write an exam September, you are gonna use your time till September. Getting back to the rest, guys, my apologies to take your time. Now, the next challenge that we are going to have is something interesting, and that is change the loop. Sorry, change this one, exactly, change this one into, yeah. Did I mention these two to you? By the way, before starting, based on what we cover, I'm gonna define two homeworks for you today, but I want to make sure how far we can get. The other thing is 2 weeks from now, we are going to have our test number 2, similar concept to what we had in test number 1. We are going to include from day 1 all the way to test 2. Nothing is going to be dropped or deleted from the evaluation. So we need to get prepared from this. So now that we have everything, please convert the loop for me to for this, please. Whoever could finish, please send me to the private message. Excellent, Alex. The thing is, Alex, can you please change that? We don't want to have anything inside for. Okay.
There's a question for that specific thing that you just mentioned. You don't want to have anything in 4. Is that
No.
common?
No,
Because like
it's not
in,
common.
Okay, because in my practices, I would like to have everything there because it just gives me a good visualization of what
It
to
is
use.
absolutely valid,
Good.
those things that you said. The thing is, if you go to an interview and if the interviewer wants to tease you, one of the questions could be, this is a while loop, change it to a for loop, and then we have trouble. So
Okay,
we want to
got it,
practice
got
that.
it, got it, got it. Okay, thank you.
No worries. Michael, bravo, thank you. Let's spend 2 more minutes and then okay, guys, to the interest of time, because we have lots of things for today. If you don't mind, let's just check. We had 3 parts in our loops, right? One of them was initializer. We are talking about the condition that we have in the loop, right? So for instance, the initializer part is here, is user reply yes kind of thing. We have something that we call updater, right? So whenever we are inside the loop, we should, check something to get us outside the loop. Otherwise, we are going to just be inside the loop forever. That's not what we want. So that's going to be the updater part. And we need to have something that checks. And that thing here is the checker part that we have. Okay. So we want to have those 3 parts. Whenever we say, hey, for, without having any of those, we need to have those checkers, initializers, and updaters somewhere in the loop. So we see that we have initializer here. As Joseph said, this is not common. Bravo, Kevin. Awesome. Oh, this is not very much common. We have it before the loop for this example. And then we have the updater to ask the user, do you want to continue? Yes or no? And we have the checker. If the user says yes, then if the user says yes, we are gonna just keep going. If the user says anything but yes, then we are gonna say break, and break brings us out after the. Let's just quickly try this one together. Okay, I'm gonna say 10, for example. Do you want to continue? Yes. I'm gonna say 11. And do you want to continue? Yes. And I'm gonna say 20, for example. And if I say no, it's going to show me again lots of. Okay, so thank you very much for now. The last practice that we have before having a short break. Let's see. Bravo, Eskin. I need to actually start a brand new list again to add the things that I had before, because we have amazing. Let me just bring, guys. Let me just bring. Okay. To appreciate and value those who are nice to participate. From now on. And again, as I told you, those who have participated or will participate even once, whenever you say Reza, we need your reference, by all means, I'll be there for you. Okay, so now the last question would be this one. Let's use a for loop. This time, it's going to be, Joseph, it's going to be a standard for loop. And we want to ask 4 times to receive 4 different values, huh? Always int I equal to 0, and then as long as I is the rest. And after we finish, we calculate the average of those 4 numbers. Okay? I'm sure this one is the easiest for you. It go all the way up.
It was the to add sum on its own. It's sum plus equals number.
Yes. Maria, can you hear me? Ali Ahmed, can you hear me? Toby, can you hear me? Okay, I read your names again. Ali Ahmed. Okay, Toby, thank you. So, if you don't mind, Toby, no matter if you could finish or not, I'm going to share my code and I want you to help me to understand what I did. Okay, but let's just see some. Okay, let's see the others. Sean is asking. Mr. Cesar, can you hear me? Farhina? Okay, thank you. Harvir? Okay, good.
Yes, Prof. Adewale is there.
I know that you are there, Adewale.
Okay.
For me, those black boxes with names on, it's like those cops that they play, and you have to pick and see if there is anyone behind it or not. So I just check. Well, okay. So not a bad idea. It gives us more motives to be focused in the class. If you don't have any restrictions or issue, not a bad idea to give it a shot, have your cam on. But if not, anyway, so thank you very much for the codes that you have sent. How about this? I'm going to share the code that I copied from you, but I don't know what it is. Can anybody explain that to me? The first volunteer is Toby, and Toby, don't worry, we just need to start like, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 variables here. The first one is integer, which is num. That's the number that we are going to get from the user. Let's see, sum. We are going to that kind of thing, okay? You are muted. We cannot hear you. Okay, no worries. Maria, do you have a chance to open your mic and start explaining? Also, be reserved for the next one. How about you, Goma? Do you want to step in and start explaining? Okay, so don't worry for the next one. I'm going to start quickly telling you what is happening. Correct me if I say something because that's not my code. I borrowed it. So we have 4 variables at the beginning. One is num. That's the things that we are going to get from the user. The other one is sum. Imagine that's a container that we are going to put numbers into it. And we have average at the end. We are going to calculate the sum and the average. And we have counter. And that counter is going to be what? It's going to be, thank you, Eskim. And thank you, Michael, again. We have a very close competition here. So, and counter is going to be the one that we are going to, every time that we get one number, we are going to add 1 into it. And then we say before the loop, just this is something that we are going to get familiar today. And that is, thanks, Kevin. That is, whenever you have any bug, any issue, you can just add more print here and there to see where you are and where is the source of the issue that you have in the code. Sometimes you see that, for instance, you want to check something and it never gets to the if check block. So you can say before the if statement, after the if statement, and see inside the if statement kind of thing and see if it works or not. Does that make sense? So that is why I have before loop and after loop to know when what happens. Inside the loop, we say that at the beginning, int I equal to 0, as long as I is less than 4. And why I didn't say, we have 4 numbers, but why I didn't say that I less than or equal 4? Kevin, can you please help me for that? We are going to test your microphone. No, okay, it doesn't work, don't worry. We are gonna okay, so Alex, how about that?
Sorry, Prof. What was the question?
The question is why I didn't say less than or equal.
Oh, because we're using the counter also to find the average. So if it was less or equal, oh, on the because you only want it 4 times, right? So since we start at 0 to 4, that's only
Okay.
four numbers, so 4 times.
Lovely. Because it starts from 0, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers, but because the index starts from 0, we say as long as it is less than 4. If you say less than or equal 4, then it's going to be 5 numbers because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? So that's the part, and we say I plus plus for every single, and we get a number. We add it there. Yes, I know, I heard. I hear you. Let's just get rid of that one, make it like this, more professional. And then every time that we get a number, we add 1 into the counter. And at the end, we are going to say after the loop, here is sum that we have divided by counter. And now I want to have the last challenge before the break. And that is, guys, can you get rid of counter and it works? I'm going to give you the code. Please help me for this challenge. And I don't know how, I don't know why it doesn't work at my end, but I want you without counter. Let me just show you without counter, with something different here. Make
It
it.
works without counter on my end.
Oh.
With
Okay.
with my code.
Okay. Share your code and I see.
Reza, I wanted to ask for because I'm getting a mental block right now because it's different than the way I was practicing it. In the 4 section, when you said int I, right? How come you used I and not the actual variable that you were using beforehand, like int num, for example?
That's a bad question, Joseph. The reason for that is exactly the answer for this competition.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't worry, no worries, no worries. That's a very impeccable time.
Yeah, it's because I'm getting
Ask-
like I told you, I'm getting a mental. I'm like, wait a second, that's not how I was practicing it. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Don't worry. After this, I'm gonna leverage your question to learn something together, kind of new. Okay, awesome.
I posted it in the chat.
Yeah, bravo, excellent. Yes,
It works without the counter.
I'm going to add one more bonus. That's what I wanted of you. Oh, don't worry. No, you're actually a professional, man. Don't worry.
Yeah, noob.
You just wanted to get it out there, Michael. I know.
Okay. Okay, to the interest of time, if you don't mind, I already received some good answers. So I'm going to share what I learned from the code that Alex and others shared with me. One of the thing is, and that's the thing that I learned, instead of using counter, why not using what? I, because I at the beginning is 0, right? But next time I is going to be 1. Imagine that for this we are gonna check that in no time. So I just need to say, hey, sum divided by I, and the problem is solved, right? But not solved. Because Joseph said, Reza, I respect, but what is that squiggly line? And that's exactly the point. Joseph, why we say int I here? Because normally we just need I inside the for block. That's what we call it the scope. The scope of variable is within the for block. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean, when I get outside the for block, we say goodbye to I. There is no sign of I anymore. Gone. Okay. Unless that you have reasonable thing to just say, no, I want like this specific example. No, I want to have I after the loop as well. In that case, you have to say int I here. Even you can initialize it so we can get rid of that one, but let's just keep it as it is. And then you see that because now I is outside the for block, you can access it before and after. I hope I could answer your question.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's just go through it together and see if it works. And that is another topic that we are going to cover today. So if I say 10 to be, and if I say 11, and if I say 16, and if I say 20, and I expect to have average between 10 to 20, right? And it is correct. It gives us this. One of the thing is you might say, Reza, what is I at the end, right? When it gets there, you can simply, we expect to have 4. You can simply place a break here, or you can say console write line, the value of I'm sorry, is, I'm gonna fix that $sign. So I'm gonna just do it once again. So 10, 16, 11, and 20. You can see the value of I is 4. One of the common problems, logical problems that we have is to have I upper than what you expect or lower than what you expect. So to have it as 5 or 3. Make sure that you check either using breakpoint or having print to make sure that it works the way that you expect. By saying that, let's just see, Michael, thank you. Awesome. By saying that, now it is 10:44. Let's come back at 10:50. So we have 6 minutes to just enjoy. Thank you. Okay. If you can hear me, please type 1. Thank you very much. So let's just use our time a little bit to make sure all of our team members are going to join us. Maybe some of you started applying for jobs or want to apply for jobs just to know in all academia, all over Canada, including Centennial, we have a department called Career Center, right? Have you ever had a chance to go to Career Center at Centennial? Okay. They have this service. You can go there and they're going to work on your resume, right? And they work on it. Before that, we had language models. That was extremely important. Still, it is very much valid. That's their job to go through tens, if not hundreds per day on correcting, improving the CVs and so on. So that's something that you can consider. Look at this package that I have. For instance, I already have created my cover letter, my CV, state of teaching philosophy, and equity references and transcript that I have. But the part that we talked about, what do we call it? The certificates, this is how I included that. So let's just make it a little bit, yeah. This is how I included that inside the AWS, right? So for instance, well, honestly, the important one is this one, but well, still I had space, so why not using training and certification badge, using all those things that I received badge for. Some of them they provide, some of them not, but I just added these kind of things into my certificates. The good thing, and let's just finish this by saying, one of the ways is just blindly, I send my resume to any job that comes to the list. That is one way. But a better way is opening ChatGPT or any language model. Sometimes Claude works the best. For me, sometimes ChatGPT and so on. I say, ChatGPT, please read my CV, and when you are done, type done. Doing this, saying done. After that, I say, dear ChatGPT, now please read this job description, job posting. And when you are done, please format or modify my resume towards that job. And guys, sometimes it does a good job. Sometimes it's not that much promising, right? This from the guy. Okay. Yeah, I do. So the thing is, that's a good one. And the thing is, we can just always modify. I very much liked one thing that I learned from one of the profs at Ryerson back then TMU. He was saying the CV or resume is a live document, is a living document. You shouldn't say that I created that, let's just leave it there. And recently something happened to me. One of my friends called me saying that, Reza, did you apply for something that was a kind of nice opportunity? I said, yes. And he asked that, did you include this into your documents? I was like, I think so. He said, if you didn't, the filter, the AI that they use didn't let you pass that thingy. Does that make sense? Means there's a filter. Guys, let's just put it this way. AI can talk to another AI better than us. So if you rely saying that, dear ChatGPT, please go through the job posting and modify my job post, my CV towards that, it is automatically going to pass those criteria. Does that make sense? So I think that we have all the clues. Let's get back to the next. Today, we are going to have a little bit different atmosphere. And by saying that, I mean, we are going to use the slides, as well as you already have all the slides at the end of the session. As always, I'm going to provide you a package, and I'm going to add more of these files, the text files. But the first one that we want to learn together is a question that I asked you before. And that question is, what is the role of those formattings that you sent, for instance, F for me, saying that this is going to be for floating to have precisions and so on. Most of the time, what we see, I'm saying I emphasize that most of the time because we have more, are D, C, F, N, and E. Some of them are just slightly different from the others, like just comma separated included in one, while the others don't. And one of the things is we have left alignments and we have right alignments. And by default, we all can guess the correct is right alignment, unless that we have left. And for left, just remember, it's going to be negative for left. Let me ask you one thing. Joseph, imagine that you have 10 spaces, right? And this is, I don't know, do you see this as right, the one that I'm shaking? Is this right at your end? Yes or no?
It's left.
What
But I get you.
If imagine that we have 10 spaces from my right hand all the way to the left hand, okay, 10 spaces, and I have 3 characters. So we are gonna start from this side by default, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to have 7 spaces, right? So this works. What if I say -3? This is going to work from the other side. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, and 7 spaces on the other side. So we understand, and don't worry if you still have any concern. We have tons of samples, but we just want to have a theory at the beginning, and we go further. The other thing is, what if this is starting to sound like math? I promise not to. So then we are going to leave together, so don't worry. The thing is, what if we have 15? What if we have 15 characters, but we have 10 spaces? Then no matter what you say about left and right, it's going to be ignored. Because you don't have time, you don't have, I'm sorry, space to play with left and right. You already occupy the whole 10, even you exceeded that. Does that make sense? So left and right works when you have less than the limitations. Okay, awesome. But without any further delay, you see, for instance, if I say left -15, it starts from the left side all the way. But look at here, we have 20 characters. While I'm saying start from the left side, it says, hey, come on. I don't have any place to go to the right or left. How about this one? The right. The number is -123. So it's going to be on the right side. Again, 15 characters, right? We see that. And the thing is, you might say, how it shows this way, how it shows that way. Let's go to this example. Everybody, if you please go to the slide number 7, just to accelerate the process. Okay, what I'm gonna do, this is not something is essential for, yeah. You also can find that formatting output. So because I'm here, let's just use this opportunity and bring that I2. Yay. One less job to do. Okay, so now please download that file, which is saying formatting output. And if for you it is not easy, I understand. So another way is copying the link that I share there. So you can just download it from there too, okay? By saying that, I have provided two things for you, and intentionally, we had some other C# specific definitions, but I intentionally wanted to use something for another language, which is close to C#, but it's not C#, it is C++. And from Brocode, Brocode doesn't have anything, at least I couldn't find, for specific C#. So let's just watch this one together.
All right, welcome back everybody. In this video, I'm going to show you all a few extra things that we can do with format specifiers. Using a format specifier within a printf statement, we can define and format a type of data to be displayed. To use a format specifier, you use a %, then follow that % with a certain character depending on the type of data you would like to display. Let's say that we have 3 variables. Maybe we have an online store or something like that. So let's say that these are of the float data type, and we'll have 3 items for
My apologies. Can you hear?
Yeah.
sale. Item 1, and make up some price. Let's say that the first item is $5.75. And we have item 2, and this will be $10 even. And then we have item 3, and this will be $100.99. So let's display item 1, item 2, and item 3 with a printf statement. Printf, and within a string, let's say item 1, space, then I'll add a $sign. Wherever you would like to insert a value or variable, you will use that format specifier, the %. So after my $sign, I'll add item 1. So that would be %, then for floats, you need F. And then after the string, add comma, item 1. Then let's just make sure that this works. So we're going to be formatting this output. What if we don't want all the zeros? We can set the decimal precision of a float or double. After the format specifier, add a dot and the amount of digits you would like to display. If I would only like to display 2 digits, after the %, I will add 0.2. And this will only display 2 digits for the amount of cents that we owe. Okay, now let's do the same thing for items 2 and 3. So item 2, item 2, item 3, item 3. Okay, then let's add a new line character because I forgot. So new line, and new line. Much better. Another thing that we can do with format specifiers is that we can set a minimum field width. So just add a number after the %. Let's say that I would like to allocate 8 spaces worth of room to display my number. So after the %, but before the decimal, add how many spaces you would like to set for the minimum field width. Let's say 8. And let's see the new output. Okay, there we go. However, it's all right aligned. If you would like this left aligned, you would use a negative sign after the %. To left align all of this would be negative, whatever number you would like to allocate. So the number is left justified, but we still have all of this room after. So that's what a format specifier is. It defines and formats a type of data to be displayed. So place a format specifier within a string, use a certain character for the type of data.
And imagine that this is not for C#, but all of us could understand what is happening there, right? And that's the beauty of learning one of the C family languages, Java, C, C++, C#, and so on. I have provided a link. Please watch, please review that at your convenience, and that is what Microsoft provided. We are going to cover the most important parts. So everyone, based on the slide number 6, I want you to just bring that to your to your coding environment, and then try that. Just let's ponder for a couple of seconds. Let's just spend time for a couple of seconds. Here is the code. Here is, and then I want you, please, one volunteer explains whatever we can learn from there. Come back in 1 second. Okay, Ngoma, let's review that together. How about that? The first line that you see is just the header that we have here, right? I just wanted to say, let's have left 15. So it's going to show that. When I say that, comma, minus 15, it shows that if I want to have left alignment or right alignment. Is it clear? Look at this one. The first one, it is something, a string. You can just say something before, say Reza is equal to left minus 15, and then print Reza, right? So it's going to just do the same. I directly just placed that string there, and I said that start from the left side. And that is why here we have that left minus 15 and started from. The same thing for right, it starts from right. We have 15 spaces for that. And this one again, right, 15. These are like column headers for us to see what is going to happen. If for the next one, look, they are all strings and not numbers. They look like numbers, but they're all strings because we use double quote. So if I say place 1 left side, you can guess you're going to have 14 characters after 1. And here we have 4 characters. You can guess we have, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Right? 11 characters before that, totally 15. And here the same. But the only thing that we need to concern here, when the number of characters are more than the space that we have assigned, no matter if you say left or right, it's going to just to occupy all the places. And it's going to just, this is going to be nice. You're going to have some projects here and there during your academic life at Centennial that they're going to ask you create a kind of table-like output using console application. This kind of thing help us to provide table-like output. By saying that, let me just make sure if there are some stuff that I need to get back to here. The original slide said that concatenation is penalized. I changed, I rewarded, paraphrase that. I said that it's not the best practice. And guys, did you see that kind of thing? Like this is something that has come from C++. And it is not the most efficient one in C#. So I would be thankful if you use the professional way that we have specifically for C#, and that is the way that we are reviewing here. This kind of type. We are gonna have more examples. The other thing that it says interpolation. Joseph, what is interpolation? Just text. Guys, anybody can remember what is interpolation? Everybody is doing this for me. It's like Iranian dance. Okay,
says
yeah.
it in the it says it in the definition that's right under it.
Oh, sorry.
Expression
Okay.
that produces a result to be formatted.
That's exactly, it's like the dollar sign that we have. Perfect, thank you. The dollar sign that this dollar sign that we have is going to make it interpolation. And the alignment is something that we have already know. Positive, start from right, negative from left. And formatting is the characters that we have already used, some of them. I remember that you helped me by saying F for floating and having limited number of precisions. And is there anything specific here? No, the only thing it says that if the value is less than the number, it does. If it is more than, that's what we covered. And here is something that we have already covered, slide number 6. And I want you, please, to go to slide number, what do we call it? 8, or here you're gonna see, this is gonna be the next. And there is, yeah. There's something that I have provided to compare these two. So we see here it says that's left, -5, 15. Here, right. I'm sure that you know now better than me. Just spend a few seconds. Run it and compare these two. Compare these two and see what is happening.
There's a shift in the positioning of the first two columns. Instead of the left, it moved to the right, and vice versa on the second column.
Yeah, you just swapped them.
Yeah.
Which one are you talking about? You're talking about this one?
No, the 1 and -123.
-1.
Right, just literally the line above it, the row above it, 1 and 123 under left. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the positioning just shifted from left to right.
Exactly.
The first column.
That's perfect. Yes. So here we said left -15. Here we said right 15. Yeah. So that's why exactly correct. And the problem here, no matter if you say left or right, you see that I wanted just to emphasize on that. No matter if you say -15 or +15, it is going to just occupy the whole thing and it's going to shift the rest as well. That's just the only thing that we wanted to emphasize more. You all got it. Awesome. Let's go to the next. And yeah, apart from that, we have this example. So everyone, please bring, guys, this is just repetition mostly. I wanted to fix that issue. So to have nice, neat kind of table-like thing. So one solution was, yeah, just having more spaces, like because we have 21, let's just say 22, And because I said 22 here, it starts from right all the way to left, and we have one space there because we have one more. Does that make sense? And now it makes it kind of like nice, neat, table-like thing.
Reza, is there an auto feature for that issue?
Even if there is, I'm not aware of. My apologies.
Okay. Oh my God.
Yeah. That's a valid question. You know, I became lazy. For instance, when I work with what do we call it, with Python, I know that I can dump it using pickle to a data frame. or I can just read CSV files, save CSV files. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to open it in Excel. So why should I bother to make this? I can say, honestly, this is a legacy that we had, and people spent good amount of time to make nice, neat tables. I remember the time that they said, okay, make it like after we had Excel and those kind of facilities in applications, why should we bother making it? So I just dump it into that format. Good. Let's go to the next one together. And now this time we are going to use something different. Previously, we used everything. The default is using string without saying anything, without emphasizing on any type. Okay. I intentionally, and everybody please copy that. And this time the challenge to participate is going to say to find the differences that we have here and here. Run the code. Run the code, please. And find out the differences. And somebody explain that to me. I'm going to mute myself. Micah, thank you.
I think the difference that I see is the rounded decimals. Unless I'm looking at it wrong.
That's what I got too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing the currency formatting and specifying the amount of decimals to show. Yeah.
By default, it will just show 2 decimal spots. If you specify it, it will show how much you specified it.
Michael, you are in the history. Oh, no. So thank you very much. The things that you added, I'm gonna read it for everyone. Michael said in C#, string interpolation is a handy feature that allows you to embed expressions inside a string literal. However, C# doesn't have a built-in auto spacing feature for string interpolation. You need to manually manage the spacing within the interpolation string. Thank you very much. And I treasure that for the other students to use it from now on. The thing is, guys, let me just confess another thing. I was lazy. I just copied and paste. That was the initial thing. Then I realized that I made a horrible mistake. So this is one of the arts that we as developers have to change the bug into a feature. So we said that let's just use it. And as you see here, I have forgotten to say, for instance, here I have C1 and I used C1. Here I said C2, I had C2, I had C0 and C0 and so on and so forth. but in the lower portion, I only have C. So I want to see if I don't mention any number after that, what could be the difference between this one without any number and the time that you have numbers. So after running, let's just bring that here. You see when I say C1, whatever you have, it has 1 decimal point. But if I don't mention that number, the default would be, yeah. The other thing that we, yes, Alex?
I was just showing that the default will be 2. I was
Okay,
doing this.
Oh, awesome. Nice. And the other thing is, you might say, Reza, on my at my end, it shows £, for example, or any other currency. And the reason for that is your laptop is actually based on the currency, default currency that you have used. The yes, exactly, the local currency that you have used. So if you go there, you can change it. And there's another thing that you might say, Reza, for me, it doesn't show like parentheses here. It shows negative. And actually, that is the setting that you have in your Windows that you set for negative numbers for currency, use negative, not parentheses. And let's see, if you say 0, we don't have any precision here, decimal point, while we have it, and you can just, the list goes on, so you got the point. If I say C, this is something that I had confusion at the beginning. I thought that if you say C or if you say C0, they are similar, while they are not. C and C2 are similar. If you don't mention any number, it is like saying C2, it has 2 precisions. Look at this one and look at this one. Does that make sense? If you want to take just one thing out of this, you can round and you can just make it look like integer just by using C0. Let's go to the next part together. And that one is, instead of using, here is something that, yeah, instead of use, and you see that here is maybe not a bad idea to just emphasize more on it. Yeah. And now, we go to the D, which is used only for integral values. And the next example that I have on the list, let's go to it. Slide 17. And did I miss anything here? No. This is what we practiced. And now let's do exactly the same thing, this time using F. Let's see what's gonna happen. So everybody and volunteer base, who answered the previous one? Alex was the one who answered. Joseph, 2 negative, asked 2 questions. Okay, if you don't mind, it doesn't really worth to spend too much time. The major difference that Sean, SK, Cesar, we can see here, the major differences would be, we don't have any currency sign here. The negative number shows as negative, and exactly like currency, that the similarity is we are going to deal with precision, with decimal points. And if you say 1, it's going to show you 1. If you say 0, it's going to have integer-like output, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? So, long story short, F is pretty close to currency with 2 major differences. We don't have any currency sign, and for negative numbers, we use negative. And if we go to the next one, you might say that is pretty similar to what we learned in F. So what are the differences? I want you, did I mention somewhere? Oh, thanks goodness, no. I want you to guess what is the difference between N and F that we have already reviewed together. Now you have a better, I'm sorry, now you have a better, oh no. Now you have a better comparison. This is for F and this is for N. What are the major differences?
One's an actual number, like that you would use in accounting. One's a float.
What I can see very much here is that thingy having a comma separated. You see that? So if you want to make it more readable, N is a better choice when you deal with big numbers. Using N gives you comma separated values. You can see here and compare it to this one as well. So this is by N, this is by F. Is it clear for everybody? Awesome. And let's go to the next one together. And that is the last slide. And this time we are going to use E. Michael, what is E? Okay, guys, can you?
Exponent.
Yes, exponentiation for scientific numbers. Michael said, and also follows log. Yes, thank you very much. I didn't know that, honestly. Good. That's why I keep learning from you guys. The good thing is we have E3. Let's just see the output. Look, whenever we say E, guys, I'm not going to take your time. E is a scientific way. For instance, if I have 123, I didn't say 123. When we have 123, a scientific way of showing that is what? Let me just, did you know that how lazy Reza is? So now I have a whiteboard.
1.23 times 10 to the power of 2.
Excellent. So instead of that, I can say 1.23, right, times 10 to the power of 2. Does that make sense? Instead of saying that, I can say 123 E2, which is going to say times to the power of 2. Does that make sense? Or if I have, guys, don't do this. If I have something like 0.0123, then how can I just convert it to something like, I can just say this is equal to 1.23 times what? 10 to the power minus, let's just
minus 2.
1, 2, minus 2, exact. So I can just say 1.23 Alex, if Joseph didn't step in saying -2, I mean just kill the time to somebody step in and say I don't know either. So -2 here. Does that make sense? They are similar to it. So let's just with knowing that, we are going to see what is happening here. We have 1, and because 1 is already, there's one thing, and I very much like this, guys. I have to share that. If somebody asks you that, um, 10 to the power of 0, so everyone says that it is equal to 1, right? Any number to the power of 0 is equal to 1. But why is so? We can say 10 to the power of 0 is equal to m minus n, because m minus n is what? Is 0. Am I right? And in other words, 10 to the power of m minus n is equal to m to the power of m over 10 to the power of n. And this is 1, right? This is equal to 1. So why I'm saying that, because now we have something here. We have something here which is only 1. 1 is like times 10 to the power of 0, because you don't multiply to any number. The only puzzling, the only kind of confusing part for me was this one. Why 1 brings me 1, 0? Does it make sense? Just let's have this one as in our side. So okay, let's go to the next, just to make it a little bit challenging and a little bit interesting for bonus parts. Okay, let's see who are in the list. Pooja, can you explain this one? If you, for any reason, you're not near the mic or you can't, just type no, ask the...
So, hi, Professor. So here we have E2. So after decimal, I can see 2 and 3.
So we have 123. I can forget about the negative sign. It's not important. So when we say 123, as you said, we can say it is like 123 multiply 10 to the power of 2. So we are going to say E2, that kind of thing. Thank you very much, Pooja. Let's go to the next. Anyone wants to step in?
Can I play this?
Sorry, please. Yes, please.
Everybody.
Awesome.
So with this number, to convert it to like a decimal form, so we have like a 9 digits in the front. Then taking it back from the end of the 9, we will need like eight steps.
Awesome.
That's why we have like 1.235, then exponential 8.
Awesome. So what I learned from Adewale is, let's just count 1, 2, 3, all the way. We have 9 digits. We want to keep 1 before the decimal point, and 8 is going to be after the decimal point. So it's going to be 1 dot, and then the rest of the numbers multiply 10 to the power of 8, because we have 8 numbers shifted after the decimal points, right? So we're going to say 10 to the power of 8. Awesome. That's a kind of cheat sheet for me. The same we are going to have here. If you say, the thing here is, if you say E3, we are going to have the precision for our number, which is going to be 3 numbers. Look at this one. It's a little bit confusing part. The precision goes to right after the number that you have. So 4 here, it's going to give us 4 precisions. What does it mean and when it's going to help us? Look at the example that we have here. For instance, if I say 1, 2, 3, it is 1, 2, 3, right? But we are going to have, is it is it going to be 3? It's going to show, let's just bring the result here. Yes, it's going to be 3 numbers over there. Does that make sense? That is something that I found my pitfall. It is E3, sir. Change it. My apologies.
Reza, I wanted to ask you, so in terms of the exponents, when it shows it onto the as a syntax, why is it always 3 digits and not say like E plus 2 or E plus 02? Why is it 002? Same with the others like 008, 007.
That's a very valid question. I'm gonna give you answer in no time if you just guys, do I have any mess any other place? So for can you please help me E3 because I want to publish this after. Well, actually, I have published. I have to delete it and just replace it. E3.
In the middle where it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with E, and then it says E6. So did you want it to add? It just says
Oh.
E.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who found that, Alex?
Yeah, and
Never find mistake of instructor 1 negative for you. Okay, what else?
the fourth one from the bottom, it says E0, but it's E3 in the code.
How about this? Let's change this one to E0. Okay. Good.
And the
And
very
then the
bottom
last
one,
E6.
yeah, the very last one.
It's awesome. Thank you very much, guys. If I don't have you in the class, how could I just very much thank you. Appreciate it. Let's go and fix this. It was the most misleading practice that we had today. So let's see if it is fixed. Yes. So now it is 3, now it is 3, now it is 3, and so on and so forth. Okay, getting back to the question that, guys, is there any problem, any issue? If you see any issue, please let me know. The question that I received, partially, I'm joking, Joseph, but partially that's not a joke, that is the reality. You know, I have OCD in many things, including when I want to type. For instance, if I want to type assignment, I'm gonna say assignment 0. Hey, where are you? I'm gonna say assignment 01. Hey, Reza, you can just say assignment 1. That is me. So the guy shows that had more OCD problem, so saying that 001. But honestly, the guy who wrote that decided to have 3 digits. And if you want to use more than that, but normally we don't have anything more than that 3 digits, because in that case, we should have, guess what? We should have something like 1,232 as the power of 10. It's gonna be gigantic number. We never want to go that.
Okay, okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Awesome. So by saying that, let's just save this. And because what's the name of the file? 6. This is the one. Please just allow me 1 sec. That's the correct version. Okay. And now we go to something, Alex. Now we go to something a little bit theory. What I want you to get from this would be just the idea. I repeat that. In the next semester, we are going to have extensive number of sessions working on this concept, and that is debugging. Okay. Before I start opening the slide, I just want to tell you one simple thing. First thing first, if you write a code in a project and and you have no error at all, then the language that you are using is HTML. Means you always face with errors. Guys, error bug is part of our life, so please deal with it. That's one thing. The other thing is we have three major types of errors. Let's just, because I needed to explain to my team members, I always use examples. One of the major example, yes, one of the examples is I forget to have semicolon at the end. This is what we call it syntax error. Does that make sense? Syntax error, like we have for, and instead of having semicolon when you say int I equal to 0, instead of saying semicolon, you use comma, for instance. Or you just fresh out of the SQL class, instead of using double quote for string, you use single quote. Anything that goes back to the grammar of the language that you are working with is syntax error. So I write that for myself as a note. Anything that goes to the grammar of a language that I'm working with is a syntax error. Example, semicolon at the end. For C#. Thank you. As Michael said, result for C#. Okay. The other thing that we have is logical error. Imagine that I get 4 numbers from the user, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and I add them together, I sum them up. To calculate the average, instead of dividing by 4, I divide it by 3. That's the logical error. So just write that, please. Somewhere. Logical error. We have 4 numbers, but for average, mistakenly, we divide it by 3. The other error that we mostly could face is, for instance, you get the first number 10. A is equal to 10. You get it from the user. B is equal to 5. You say C is equal to A divided by B. Is it clear so far? So we have 10. We have 5. We say 10 divided by 5. The result is 2. Nothing wrong with that. But what about in the runtime? User says A equal to 10, but B equal to 0. In that case, we have divided by 0 problem. This is something that we say runtime error. Just one example. If you have just one example for each of these major issues, then you can expand it and enhance the concept later. For instance, runtime. I want to open a database. For some reasons, not having a proper credentials or mistaken username password, or the server is down, or any other possible issues, we are going to have runtime error. You want to open a file and start writing while Michael is already writing in that file. So I'm not allowed to do so. It is going to give me a runtime error. It is going to give me an exception. And what I very much liked about Michael's code today, for all the examples that I said, he checked that if we already have any courses received from the user, then divided by, means check. If there's no course, then you're going to have divided by 0 problem. That is one way of making your program robust. So please write it somewhere. What is robustness in programming? What is a robust program? If you write a program that is error-prone, thinking proactively, what if a user enters something that we don't expect? Exactly. Again, guys, if you don't have coffee, brew and bring one. This is going to be a kind of just coffee. Yes, cheers. It's going to be a coffee chat together. It's a kind of theory. And the thing is, we are not going to implement them. We just want to have the concept. In programming too, we are gonna implement them. But I guarantee that if you know the concept, you are not gonna have hard time to implement them. So we learned that let's just have a satellite view. We have 3 types of errors. One could be the syntax example, semicolon at the end if it is C#. We have another logic. We have 4 numbers. Instead of summing and dividing by 4, we divide it by 3. And the other one, something that happens in the runtime, which is like divided by 0, opening a file which is already occupied by someone else and you cannot touch it. These kind of formats. What did we do before the era of having try, catch concept? There's something funny. My supervisor in the last, I couldn't say that the last course because I think that every day is a kind of lesson. But in the last degree that I had, Dr. Ali Miri, he was a fantastic person. He is. And he taught us something about security. He said that, imagine you have 100 windows in your building. If you make sure that 99 windows are 100% closed, you guarantee that there is no way to penetrate into the building, and you didn't check only one window, that could be the place that the thief can just penetrate into the system, can get into the building. It was a time, I remember the class, it was a time that guys, those who are in Toronto, in Shepherd and Steeles, there is a mall, and there was a Target shop over there. We call it shop, right? That's kind of chain kind of thing from Target. And it was exactly the year that they were attacked and 3 million cards, credit cards were revealed by the hackers. And Dr. Miri said that, look, this is a live example that we hope never say that, but people find the value of security when they face issue like that. So the Target needed to sell some of their branches, including that one, so that you don't see any Target. Why I'm saying that? Because before having this mindset that you have to check all the windows, we used a basic form of checking. If the denominator is equal to 0, then don't just proceed, divided by 0 error. What I want to say, for instance, you want to open, everybody, please pay attention to this one. If you want to open a file, there is a chance that the connection to the server is broken, right? This is one. What else? The file is already opened by someone in a write mode, so you can't do any changes into it, right? What else? The credentials that you need to have to connect to a network is not, working. You think that, okay, there is no other way that there could be any other problem. And the problem could be they have already changed the name and your name is just the old name of the file. So you checked 3 out of 4, but you didn't check all the windows. Do you see that? Yes. Bravo, Alex. That someone smart should be Alex, huh? The thing is, look at this one. Previous format of handling and debugging was using nested if-then else's. 30 years ago, people used if, and then they tried to check 29 windows out of 30, and there was always a chance that I have. Right now, you are going to say try the part of the code that you might receive any error, put that inside try block, and say catch these exceptions. Exception 1 could be, for instance, divided by 0. Exception 2 could be not an appropriate type exception, but you always say exception as the widest possible thing, the thing that you haven't thought about. Then you generate a kind of proper message and you do something to that. You might say, Reza, I didn't get everything that you said. You have all the rights. We are going to intensify the concept later. But this is the last thing that I'm going to go before we open the files. Listen, if we have, my apologies, if we have four possible situations that the code goes the way that we don't accept, we call it exception, right? If we have 4 possible conditions, the first one, I'm going to go to the narrowest possible thing, Then next attempt, I'm going to go to the second wider range of possible things to check. Then I'm going to go to the next wider possible things. And finally, I'm going to say exception means any possible thing. Why not opposite, guys? Because if you start from the widest, it's going to get trapped in the widest possible, and you cannot recognize the real cause of the error. I repeat that, Joseph. If you check with the widest, it could be divided by 0, it could be a string, it could be anything. Then you have hundreds of possibilities. You already check if that's the first. So you're gonna just put yourself in a position that you have 100 possibilities and you're not very much sure which one it could be. But what if we do it opposite? We start from the narrowest and say that, okay, divided by 0. If I could get that, then that's the problem. The next one is not appropriate type. The next one is, and then the exception, the general. If we want to take one thing and write down for the exception handling and debugging, we always start from the narrowest to the widest. Please write it somewhere. Thank you. Okay. Before we start, guys, it is 11:54. Let's have another break, 6 minutes. So let's come back at 12. Okay. So, and then that's it. We're going to start by slides. Thank you. Okay, if you can hear me, still we have a few seconds. Please type 1. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Adewale, Farhina, Miskin, Michael. Excellent. Farhina, I didn't ask you any question, Toby. Thank you. So if you are willing to just be on the list, let me know. So I'm going to ask. Thank you, Goma. The thing is, we are going to read. Let's see if it is going to work. Yes. Okay. The objective is I'm gonna skip some of the parts, like we have already covered the type of errors. I don't actually say it like this, huh? I always say, well, syntax is syntax. Semantic is similar to logical, and it says that runtime. One of the problems is what if sometimes you face problem and sometimes you don't face problem. That is the hardest, toughest problem to debug. You know, if it always gives you problem, you're gonna solve it. But what if whenever you're alone at home, it works, but whenever you want to show it to your supervisor, it doesn't work? That is the toughest thing, right? So I'm not going to take your time very much. I just go to the, yeah. It says that anything that prevents the system from functioning the way that you expect could be considered as issue or bug. And code that doesn't conform to the language rules will not compile. For instance, you don't use semicolon for C#. I wanted to say, or if you use semicolon in Python, actually it works, but it's going to suppress the output. Incorrectly implement code will not perform the task correctly. That's most of the time that happens, that people come to me saying that, hey, my code works. And my answer is yes, awesome, that works, but it doesn't fulfill the requirements that we were searching to find answer for. You have a correct answer for another question. Okay, and during the coding, the good thing, and that is why I always tell you, and I saw some of our team members, I'm not gonna say who, but thanks for submitting everything. Still, I see some of you that they use online compilers. The problem of online compiler is it's not gonna yell at us saying that, hey, Reza, you are missing something here, right? Here, I can simply understand that there's a missing part there. You remember when I wanted to tell you, what if instead of 0, you say O in for loop? I couldn't show that kind of situation here because it yelled at us saying that, hey, you shouldn't use O here, you should say 0. I needed to show in online compiler. Not a bad idea to use IDEs. They are there, and actually the new generations, that is something crazy. In Python, in Colab, I'm going to show you that they added some stuff saying that, do you want to create chart for you? Do you want to guess what do you want to type? And one of the problem is that I face people in the exam, they type the problem statement, and unfortunately AI is going to give them answers in the cell, so let alone finding the problems. So we are getting to a kind of era that using IDs is going to ease the job for us. You just need to implement your ideas. It's going to fix the problem. Yeah, Copilot, or there are tons of examples for that. Going to this, it says that no one is, it's not talking about us, but no one is perfect, and we might see issues. It's probably impossible to have a reasonable complex. There's one thing. Nice. Yeah, thanks. My God. And guys, please feel free if you want. I don't want to be the only person to talk. Whenever you want to share something based on experience, something that you faced, please step in. Michael, do you want to explain more?
Sure. Yeah. So like the IDEs these days, like if you don't fine tune your say your Copilot options, like the damn thing is just it's like, oh, you've hit a keystroke here. Do you want to do this? And it's like, no, I just want to do 2 more of these and then go to the next line. You know, and the damn thing is spitting out, like say I just want to do a comment, like for the last I don't know, I forget what I was doing, but I just wanted to do 2 front slashes. Next thing you know, the thing's popping up, the full summary, parameters, you know, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, I just want to add a comment here. And it's taking it out of my hand. It's actually creating more work, honestly. Half the time it's creating more work. Like if I have a question, I will ask, stop friggin' interfering with my crap, you know, like it's ridiculous. Or say I'm starting to type a declaration in the wrong location, or I forget to add the type at the start of it, right? The thing is like, oh, well, that's not what you want to do there because you can't do that. So you obviously can't mean to do that, but I am meaning to do that. So it's like, oh, we're going to, you mean this method and we're going to import a new library and it just doesn't. It's like, wow, no, stop it. Cause then I got to delete that, remove the import. It's like, I just want to do a comment and that's it. So anyways, that's my rant. The thing is out of hand. I hate it. It's in everything. Our browsers. My phone is now deciding whether or not my Wi-Fi signal is strong enough. and disconnecting. Like I will shut off my mobile data and it's still like, oh well, the Wi-Fi is not good enough, so you just don't have internet now. And it's like, no, stop freaking doing this. Like, I know how to think still. You know, shit like this is going to ruin future generations. You're not going to understand anything they're doing. Everything's going to be spoon-fed. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. That's it.
But is there a way to be able to integrate Copilot so it doesn't do all of that stuff, but at the same time allows you to give you some hints that will help you with your code?
Yeah, go into the settings and you can turn off, you can modify its completion options, whether inline typing options, all that, you can turn it all off.
Okay, okay.
And that's a very valid concern, actually. I remember, and guys, let me tell you one thing. And I was thinking, and that's based on one of our team members in this class, that, you know, there is a time that, Michael, we start from 0, 0, 0, getting into a technology. And there is a time that we go to a kind of lots of ups and downs, try and error, getting ourselves crawling to get to a place that we can start connecting to the technology. And that's the huge problem, because I don't know why, and it happened to all of us, that we forget when we didn't have that knowledge. We forget that we were kids one day and we just imposed regulations that we didn't want to receive those disciplines when we were kids. We do exactly, you know what I'm saying? We forget. That's the time. And that is actually what happened in the class. And I asked one of the team members, it was week number 1, and they started explaining. They said, okay, we asked computer to write something for us. I was like, yes, but, and they said, why you are asking it that way? I was like, that's how it is. That was my immediate answer. And can you imagine, after all these weeks, it soaked in my brain. And last night, it was like Eureka time for me. I just said that I found it. That's a kind of gap that I got to the technology, and I forgot that I had that question initially. Why I need to say like this to computer, please input the first parameter, please input the second parameter. And nobody told me that, hey, this is like learning French language. This is like learning Japanese language. This is how they communicate, because it has come from that root. I started using scanf, printf, C, and I forgot that. And after a while, I started connecting to technology, not knowing how to make a bridge between those two who wants to start. Why I'm saying that? Because that's the Joseph's question. is it possible to say, technology, please keep quiet. I want to relax and do my own stuff. Nobody teaches us, and we jump into just seeing that that's the kind of incident that's happening. I think that this is the responsibility of those that they provide those technologies to say, hey, come here. There are keys that you can switch them off, not to, and that is our struggle, how I can just switch them off. And another point that Michael addressed, and that is very much correct, is we are going to have lots of correct answers without even bothering to know the root of any problem. So if they tweak it a little bit, or if we want something a little bit different, we don't know where to go and which screw we should, just make it tighter or make it looser to get what we want.
Yeah, like you have to understand what you're building in order to build it correctly. You have to know if that AI is spitting out the right shit or not. Like, and it doesn't do it right all the time. AI is wrong a lot because it's guessing. It is predicting what it thinks you are going to do and what you want next. And a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with custom code, it doesn't apply and it's wrong. It's wrong consistently, always. Well, sorry, not always, but quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much. By saying that, we get to this point that it says that we want to reduce undesirable artifacts during the executable of the program. There are two types of errors that we are going to face. One of them are non-critical, like, hey, we have an error in our game, so who cares? We can just fix it at our convenience. Or things that are not very much serious. But what if we have, like, we are talking about autopilot system, right? If we make any mistake, we are playing with the people's lives. So we need to be very much cautious. There are things that I added this picture last night into it to emphasize that I'm going to talk about this together. Look at this. If I say write clean code, for what? To go for a simple style rather than a complicated. Search at your convenience, not now. What is Python Zen? I assure you it's not about meditating. It's something that says simple is better than complex, and complex is better than complicated. And it is really depend on your, what do we call it, definition of complex and complicated. Simple, it's obvious, it's better than complex. But complex means you have lots of pieces, but you can recognize if you use magnifier to go down and see what is happening there. But complicated means it's like a kind of spaghetti that you don't know where to start, it's like a kind of yarn that you have and you can't easily just make it simpler. Choose meaningful identifier. We talked about that. Don't use A, B like Reza. And use camel case for variables. We all know that. Use name. We have something that we call it magic number. Okay. Can you please search? I have forgotten. What is magic number in programming? And there are two exceptions for it. I want you to please find those exceptions. Okay, anyone wants to step in, say what are magic numbers? Please just don't hesitate.
Okay, so I actually didn't know this myself. I never got introduced to it. But so magic number is a number that they're in your code, but they're you may not know exactly what they mean. Like pi, for example, if you have 3.14 in your code, you know, not everybody is going to look at that and understand that it's supposed to represent pi. So that would be an example.
Bravo, bravo. Look at this one. As Michael said, any number that we have in our program, like pi, the other example, like the tax in Ontario, right? Instead of using 0.13, have a constant on top of the program. You remember that we talked about the constants? So capital letter for everything. Instead of having 0.13, use a constant saying Ontario tax, all capital, and then use that number. I told you that there are two exceptions. People say for 0 and for 1, we do not include them as the magic numbers. So some people say, thank you very much. Yes, excellent, like pi. So for the others, we do not say, we do not include, do not include 0 and 1s for such a thing, but for the rest, we are going to use what? We are going to use, if it gives the read, it doesn't, unfortunately. Okay, maybe because it is very much bulky. Yeah, we don't use for 0s and 1s. Let me just open, sometimes that happens, I need to open another browser. Let me just open here and say Colab, Google Colab. Okie dokie. So we have that. And I'm gonna close this one. One general kind of rule of thumb. Many a time you see that if you use something like Google Colab, there is a chance that, especially if it is bulky, Google Chrome cannot work very fine. Especially Microsoft Edge is very much high in performance, so we can just use that one. Look, the things that took forever to get open, here it takes very much less time. Hopefully, please do something. I already talked about good things about you. Okay. It did. So, and one of the things that I wanted to say, and Michael addressed that kind of, it is just 2-3 weeks that they added something in Google Colab environment. Unfortunately, I cannot show it at the moment, but it provides auto chart for you. You just have a data frame and it gives you ton of options for the possible things. And why I'm saying that, because that's the next topic that we are gonna talk about. Let's just see bit.ly. Hopefully this is going to show the result. It is going to provide some suggested charts. We didn't have that before. It is just 2-3 weeks that they integrated AI. And it says, do you want to have charts here and there? And the other thing, hopefully this one works as well. Yeah. But it brings us to the other thing. My apologies, because I have a ton of things open, it takes forever. So please just allow me to open a new, brand new Colab. And I want to show you something here. In languages that they are strictly typed like this, If I want to define something integer like int num, I'm gonna say int num 01 equal to 10, for example. And then I'm gonna say, you see int num2, I'm gonna just say 20 here, for example. And later, if for any reason I want to change num1 into 30, there is no issue. Let's just change this one to, I'm sorry, to sample. And I'm gonna say sample 2 here. And there's a reason for that I changed it to make more sense. I use this, and imagine that my dictation is awful in English. So if I say sample like this, it gives me a tough time. It's, hey, Reza, what is that sample 01? I can understand something is wrong here. And if I don't fix it, it's not gonna let me go to any other place. But let's go to a place like a Python environment. If I say sample1, I don't need to say anything. If I say sample1 equal to 10, if I say sample2 equal to 20, and if I just say, okay, show me the sample1, it works. Then during the program, I needed to update the value of sample, and I say sample like this 01 equal to 30. Now, I expect that I updated the original value, right? This is what I expect to happen. And look what's going to happen if I say, okay, show me the sample 1. This time I made it correct. I didn't. It doesn't show you any mistake or error. So it makes it tough for me to find. For those languages that they are dynamically typed, my suggestion, guys, no matter how you're skillful, please double click, Control C, double click, Control C, double click, Control V, sorry, copy and paste. In that case, now it works fine. Okay? Because whenever you have typo, it doesn't think that you're addressing the same variable. It generates a new location of memory with a new label. So now by having this example, if we go to this, we can understand why it says dynamically typed scripting languages are more prone to bugs. Statically typed compiled languages generally have less bugs, and that is the reason. The last thing is saying, although C# is a relatively descriptive language, you should include an appropriate amount of documentation in your code. Here, my apologies if I just quickly go through the things. Please, these are the things that we already talked about. This is something that is very much annoying. The problems that they happen once in a while and not always. These are the things that we do not like and they happen. Do you have any example? Yeah, but it takes time because it's in Colab in Python. Sometimes it works 10 times in a row, no problem. But sometimes you run it the first round, it gives you a hard time. Let me just give you the general title. Whenever you have a chance, please do not use while true. Say flag equal to true, then while flag. This is going, if you say while true in languages like Python, there's a big chance that you face issue. It's going to be less issues if you say while flag, that kind of thing, okay? And the problem is, I teach in front of the class, it works. I want to open it again, it doesn't. So part of the problems could be because of the compiler or interpreter issues. The next thing that I want to tell you is some of the times you see that there are squiggly lines. If it is red, you need to take care of it immediately and take it seriously. But if it is yellow, it could be something that's saying, hey, you have defined a variable, but during your program, you haven't used it in any place. Huh? And sometimes there are things that you need to know or you better to know, and you have green squiggly lines for them, informative kind of suggestions. If I could give you a suggestion, okay, this is something that I wanted to open a new. Again, this part is something that we are going to spend good amount of time. I promise that this is going to be the last thing that we don't have hands on. I leave the rest for you to read it at your convenience, and please read it. I'm sure that you don't want me to be a slide reader. You can read it way better than me and thoroughly. So I want to show you something like this, and I have a point. I always told my friends, okay, now we have this. This is a concept that no matter if you are dealing with Java, if you're dealing with C#, if you're dealing with any language, you have similar things in all of them. Whenever you want to debug, imagine that, Joseph, what did we call that thingy that I placed here? Can you remember? There's a break.
The break, yeah, sorry.
No, I said, oh, was it break? Awesome. So it was a breakpoint, right? So we had a breakpoint over there. What does it mean? Means that, hey, dear pandas, dear C#, dear Java, please run everything all the way to this place. Guys, is it clear? Everybody? If it is clear, type high, wow, type high five. Type 5. Yay. Alex, high five. Yay. Great. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Good. Majority are really at the computer. Great. Look at this one. I go all the way from the beginning to this line. From that moment, I have 3 options to choose. One of them is step into, one of them is step over, and one of them is step out. Is it clear so far, Kevin? Awesome. So if I say for now, step into and step over for the next line would be the same. For this one, it would be the same. But now we have a function call. If I say step into means that I'm not confident about the source of the issue. Maybe it is inside function 1. So please go inside that and start from here. And step into, step into, step into. Here, if you are inside function 1, again, step into and step over is going to work the same. Does that make sense, everybody? Long story short, if it is just one simple line, when you get to a step into, it goes to the next line, to the next line. Step over does the same thing. But whenever you have another block like function call, step into is going to bring you inside the next function. Okay, Reza, you said what is going to happen if we use step into. But what if we say step over? Means that I trust this, dear compiler. When you get to this, when I said step over, go and run the whole thing in one shot and go to the next line. Alex looks suspiciously.
Yeah, Reza, can you please explain that one more time?
Sure, by all means. Look at this one. If I say step into for this one, it's going to get to the next line. The step over does the same thing. Go to the next line, go to the next line. The difference between a step into and a step over is where you are going to have a new method, like a function call. In other words, you are going to bring the control of the compiling of the program to another place. Does that make sense? In such cases, if you say step into means that, hey, go here, check this line, check this line, check this line, check this line. Imagine that now I found the issue. So let's just say step into, and then it is going to get back to this line. I just used step into. Was it clear so far? Excellent. But imagine that I am 100% sure that this works fine. I have used that function and there is no error there. I just want to give the whole input, the arguments to that function, and go run it for me, go to the next line. It is going to be like this. It is going to be like this. Go to this line, go to this line, step into or step over. But when we are here, if I say step over means that go and brought all those values, run this in one shot and bring the cursor over here. Again, step over means you done that, go to this line. Run it like a simple single line of code. You don't need to go to details of that. Does that make sense? Don't open the door of that function. Just run it.
So Reza, when you say open the door to that function, it'll give you the output. Sorry, not the output. What I'm trying to say. So the different, like both of them give you the same output, right? And step into and step over, right? It's just one of them is going into the function, the other one is saying, I trust the function, just give me the output and put it into the next line, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
I wish, you know why I didn't provide example for that? Because we are going to face that pretty soon. I just want to have a kind of a satellite view of it at the moment. Then we are going to practice. Just guys, imagine that now you are dealing with an animation. What is going to happen? I'm going to press step into. I'm here, step into, step into, step into. I am here. I say step into, it brings the cursor here. You remember that it makes it like a highlighted line. It is here. Now step into, step into, step into, step into, step into. Now step into, that kind of thing. Does that make sense? And now let's just do it once again. It starts from here. Step over, step over, step over. Step over. You don't see any opening the door, what is happening there. You just have the result. You don't see anything. It's not going to bring the camera inside that room, what is happening in there. It just goes to the next line. Does that make sense now, Alex? Awesome. But let me explain, and guys, don't worry. I always said that what if you have another function called function2, then last night I was like, okay, Reza, well, you're just telling the story, just show it. Let me tell you what is the step out. This is super important. Imagine that I use a step into, okay, it starts from here. Step into. Joseph, can you please assist me for this one?
For the step into, yeah, it just.
Okay, I say step into here. I'm going to be there. I'm going to, and if I say step into, what's going to happen?
It'll go into the function.
Awesome. It goes into the function. Lovely. It goes into the step into again.
Yeah. Keep going all the way.
Okay. The thing is, I found the line that it was kind of suspicious for me, and it works fine. I don't need to go line by line, for the rest of the things that I have in function one. Did you see the scenario, Alex? I said I found the place that I was suspicious about having any wrong value. And I don't want to continue line by line after that. Just go in one shot and bring me there. Which one makes more sense in terms of meaning to do that for us?
Step out.
Lovely. Means that, hey, I don't need to go line by line for the rest. Just run them all and go to the line right after the place that you get into by using a step into. Does that make sense? Okay, lovely. But right now we have one step more. That is something that I created. And let's look at this one. Here we have two function calls. So again, imagine that, imagine that, where are you? Okay, my apologies. Imagine that we are here as we did it before as the breakpoints. And I used, Joseph again, okay, Alex this time. I want to use your knowledge to use step into. So I'm here. I use a step into. What's going to happen?
It's gonna keep going to the next line. If you use it again, it's gonna keep going. And then it's a function one. If you press step into, it will go into function one. And then it
Awesome.
will go line by line until we reach function two. And if we choose to press step into, we'll go into function two.
Excellent. So now by pressing step into, I'm here. That's one scenario. I'm here. I'm here. Actually, that is what I wanted to check to make sure if it is fine or not. And it works fine. And I don't need to go any further. Which button I should press to say, hey, go and run the rest and get after the function two?
Step out.
If I say step out, exactly, it's going to treat all the lines that we have after that as one, and it brings you to the line after that function too, right? And actually, I don't want to go line by line after that too. What is your suggestion? What should I press to run them all and go back to here? Tell me.
Step out.
A lovely step out. And guys, I promise this is going to be the last time that I'm going to ask questions, because honestly, if you get that, oh, I wanted to ask Kevin. I think that he's a mind reader as well. So he just
No, go ahead, go ahead.
Reza is going to ask me. Okay, Kevin, can you please help me? I'm going to say step into, sorry. Step into, and I say step into, and I get all the way a step into to here. My scenario is now I'm very much 100% confident about function two, and I don't want to go inside the function. I don't want to open the door of function two. I just want to jump. Which button should I press?
You can press step over. Step over should get
Step
you.
over, lovely. And actually, by saying a step over, I get to this line. And now I don't need to check any line after that. I want to get out of this function and continue after function one. Which button is going to help me to get out of there? To get out of there.
Step out, yeah. Clearly step out. Yeah.
It is very much self-descriptive. At the beginning, it might be. And don't worry, it's not going to burn the computer if you say step into. Just a few more clicks, and then you are going to just get there too. Does that make sense, guys? Do you have any clear definition of what are the differences between step into, step over, and step out? Okay, just write for yourself. Please write one simple definition wherever you think works the best for you?
So write the definition and send it to you or just for our reference?
For your own reference.
Okay.
Okay. By saying that, we already completed whatever we needed to know about the debugging. Again, I would be thankful that you spend a few minutes after the class or whenever it works for you to read the whole debugging slides. And if you remember, we said that we have we have a sequential form of coding that we go from one line to the next. But whenever we want to bring the control to somewhere else, we have three options. We already said we could have conditions, checking that if something is happening, do this, else do something different. We said we might want to repeat something 2 times, 10 times, 100 times. We use loops. And another thing that we want to start for today, and we are gonna start some simple samples. And actually, we are going to watch 16 minutes of presentations by GRF Academy and Brocode, and I have some other stuff. And I'm very happy that we have enough time to not only listen to them, but also to go further. Quickly, I'm gonna tell you, if we open this one, it says about the control flow, and one of them is, okay, in the main method, what is main method? The main method, if you're not dealing with top level domain, if you're not dealing with top level domain, look at this one. I'm gonna get rid of this one, and I'm gonna get rid of this one. And I'm going to just run the code. Let's just say my Apple. Let's just say no console writes line, and I want to show sample one. Control A, Control K, D to format it. And if I run that, you see it is going to give me 30. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring it back to what it was before. This is something that in .NET 9 we had it. You don't, because we always use main method everywhere, so why should we bother? We have it behind the scene. You can just use ChatGPT later to see what happened that we don't need to write the main method. But guys, it works exactly the same way that I don't have the main function, the main method. Okay. Listen to this. Whenever we deal with a new version of IDE in C#, it is an option for us to say, do you like to have top level domain main, or if you uncheck it, it's not going to show main. While main is there, main is going to be there. You just don't see it. The good thing about having main is going to be helpful for us, that we can understand this is a kind of you call it method, function, procedure, whatever you want to call it. People mostly use method or function. It's a kind of cheat sheet for us that we have handy to see what is the structure of a method. I repeat it. If you design your code the way that you have main, it's going to help you whenever you forget, how can I just make one method? You have a cheat sheet. That's one thing. But before anything else, what is method? First, let's say main method. Main method, we have that concept in almost all of the languages. In some, like Python, not mandatory, but it makes it neater, nicer, and there are some exceptions that could happen if you don't use main concept. Long story short, in most of serious languages, we have a concept of main, and that is the place that your code starts getting executed. Getting to this, it says, what if you want to do something repeatedly? By saying that, it doesn't mean that you want to do it 100 times right now, so use loop. Means, Alex, you want to calculate when you go to shop for shopping, you want to calculate the tax amount of what you're shopping. Joseph, you're going to do the same thing when you want to calculate the net salary after getting the number. You want to calculate, okay, how much of that should be the tax part. So calculating the tax, the same mechanism, you do it once here on top of the code, you do some in some other part of the code in the middle of the code, doing the same mechanism. One solution that we used before having the luxury of using functions, methods, subroutines is just copy that part of the code and paste it here. And you might say, Reza, the problem is solved. You can do that. Yeah, correct. But what is the problem of that? You want to calculate tax here, so you have the code over there. You're going to do the same thing, copy and paste it here. So Goma, what is wrong with that? So Control C, Control V. Done. Goma, Sean, Mr. Cesar, Adewale, Farhina, whoever wants to, between the names that I said, if you want to step in, please. Eskim said reusability of the code. Great. But I don't know what is the meaning of that. Let's just ask another friend. Harvir, how about you? Farhina, Maria. So among these three friends, Farhina, Harvir, Maria. The question is, I want to calculate the tax. I want to calculate the tax. I do it here on top of the code. I copy and paste and do it in the other place. So what is the problem? I'm gonna just do it 2 times. It works. Why I need any other concept to add to my toolbox? Mr. Adewale? Okay, among the handsome faces that I have, if anyone wants to step in.
Okay, so what you're doing is adding a whole bunch of extra lines to your code. You're duplicating code. It's gross and unprofessional. What you want to do is implement some reusability. So you're going to extract that to a separate method and then call it inside your existing code.
Lovely. Correct me, Michael, if I'm saying nonsense. What I learned is it's going to reduce the number of lines. That's one thing. So instead of, imagine that your calculation process has 10 lines, then you're going to have that 10 lines again somewhere else. That's one part. The other thing is, what if I want to use that in other projects? So I can just combine them all in one file, and then we use it that's the concept. We reuse it, reusability in other projects without needing to start from the scratch. And the other thing that we can have by using this mechanism is, what if the tax that you are calculating is changed from 13% to 14% or 12%?
Right, because then you can, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I know you're going to say now you can supply the different tax rates as an argument with your called method. And then you can use that in your code, and it can be anything that you want it to be. It's going to process that formula you have in that method with whatever number is supplied.
Excellent. That's what we were using the concept of module for. As Michael said correctly, if you have any change, you don't need to bring your magnifier, search, okay, where did I use that, Control F to find, and just change those values. You change in one place and it cascades in all over the places. Does that make sense? So guys, the professional code has and methods.
So Reza, in terms of for reusability, majority of the codes have to be somewhat general. Like if we take the tax example, right? If the tax rate changes, that's the only thing that we're changing within when we're using it somewhere else. But everything else should stay general, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
I very much like what one of the politicians recently said. I try to hold the cards to my chest, not to play all of them at the moment. I learned that from that speech. Michael, you know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I don't follow politics.
Me too. I just suffer from their decisions.
Yes.
So that is okay. I'm gonna try to answer part of that. The thing is, imagine that one government comes in power and they say, for calculating the salary, we are going to have one tax for, what do we call it? One tax portion for 13%. We are going to have 2% tax for foundation of healthcare. And we are going to have 1% tax for education. Does that make sense? The next government is going to come to power saying that, hey, no, we are going to have only 2 portions. So I need to go and change all of those things, if we have just regular 13% tax and only educational tax, right? We don't have any healthcare. They don't want to spend, imagine. Then we have 2. I don't want to use word parameter, but 2 parameters too. Just I have 3 or I have 2. And I have to go all the places, change everything in all of them. Does that make sense? But don't worry, we are going to have a ton of examples. And I guarantee that after finishing this, you're going to be the master of making methods. Honestly, I don't know why. I just remember like a fade memory that one of the things that I always had worry was dealing with methods. And now when I want to write a program, I can guarantee that there is no code that we can just write without using methods. So it says that the control follow normally as per sequence or conditional or loops, but there is a chance that we want to, let's just bring to this is going to be easier to understand. We go to the first line, then we call a method, we go to that method, we go through, it's like, and it is mentioned in the text, you can find it. It says that a method is like a mini program. A method is like a mini program. So you bring the control to just that block of code. It goes from one line to the next, to the next, to the next, right? And it brings you the answer and brings you to this line. Does that make sense? Reza, theory is enough. Let's just go to the next PowerPoint that we have quickly. And it talks about everything like, again, this. There is a chance that, Joseph, you say calculate the tax, right? You call that function. But in that specific function, imagine that you're going to add 2 more calculations that you need to call another function, right? So then in here, you call another method and it's going to go there, bring the control of the program. It talks about the method's anatomy. It said it has head and it has body. We are gonna get to that. It says that we use public static, that kind of thing. There is one thing. Should we always use static? I don't know at the moment. At the end of next semester, we have clear definition for this part. Okay. At the moment, just let's follow and say static. But another thing that I want to address is look at this one. Reza said, use cheat sheet. Here is my cheat sheet. So I want to say, what do we call it? Static. And by the way, look at this one. If I say public, it's going to work precisely fine with or without having public. And public means that, let's just say it that way. You don't need any ticket to enter to that event. That is open to everybody. Does that make sense? Alex, Joseph? Okay. Okay. And now I'm lazy. I'm gonna just copy this one here, copy this one, and say open close brackets. Instead of main, I'm gonna say do nothing. And actually, I'm gonna do nothing. So I'm gonna say console write line, I do nothing. Okay, does that make sense? Everybody? Alex, Michael, please keep your camera open. We already just have 2 cameras, except
My camera go off or something?
I'm just joking because Joseph, yeah. Well,
There we go. Hey, ask and you shall receive.
Hey,
Sorry, someone just came into
fine.
my room.
Don't worry, I'm just joking. So look at this one. Guys, I'm going to say console writes line here and hello world, let's say from Reza, to make sure that this is not the default thing. So guys, do you see that? Yeah. So, and I'm going to write that. Please, before I write, I want your answer saying correct, true, false. It is going to type hello from Reza, and it is going to type I do nothing, and that's going to be the output. Yes?
No, it's only saying hello world from Reza.
So why I did that then? Let's just see. Fingers crossed it's going to show both. No. So why?
Because you didn't call your second function.
Aha. So the function, it's like saying that, hey, I have, for instance, something, whatever. Okay, can you use it? For using that, I have $100. Okay, good for you. Can you use that money? Right? For using that, you need to call it. Exactly. You just call the function, call the method. Don't forget to put semicolon. And then, ta-da, it's going to show both lines. Does that make sense? So there is one definition of the function, and there is one calling the function. If you have, Yes.
I'm sorry. I just want to step in for this little piece here, because a lot of people are probably wondering why that first part ran in the first place. Like, if to somebody who doesn't understand, there's two functions here. One ran, one didn't. Why not? The first one's in our main. So every language, like if you're running something other than just a plain script, you have an entry point or a main point. In C#, your main compiled with a program is your starting point. So that main is going to run no matter what. So everything you do from there that's where you go from. And that's why that ran and the other one didn't.
So main is being called on automatically because it's main.
Yes.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Michael. I feel guilty why I didn't explain that. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, main is a platform that we start our compilation in languages like C, C++, Java, C#. And it is going to run that without any need to call, because that's the place that automatically is called. But in the next one, if we have another function, another method, exactly like main in terms of signature, and then it doesn't do anything unless that you call it. Huh? Look at this part, please. And that is, I want you to just pay attention. If I do you remember that I took these parts away and it worked before? Right now it shows me something like, hey, what are you talking about? If you take these two out, it's going to, let me just say Control KD. Now it works exactly like before without any problem, right? So the thing is, oh, I'm sorry. This was like, why it doesn't work? Now it works. Because we had main behind the scene. And I provided an explanation, but I found it when I read it. So that Reza, did you read what you wrote? When I read it again, I found it a little bit complicated. Longer story short, I couldn't understand what I wrote. Then I just leave it for later. For now, just know if you are using top level domain, the best practice is using public for them. Access modifier is going to be public. If you don't use main, if you're not using top level domain, it's a new form, a new format after version 9, then please just get rid of public and it works like before. But I know that for some of us that, for Reza, who is new in this concept, it is like, hey, you're just talking about theory and I cannot understand that. For the sake of that, I wanted to finish today's session just a little bit earlier, but apparently we're going to just finish right. I provided something that if you see here, the first, and I already shared that, I said some resources. And we are going to watch these two. And apart from it, I have a ton of samples. But unfortunately, because we don't have time, I remember to review the rest and start working with very, very simple examples. Actually, this is very, very simple examples. These ones I have borrowed from the samples and I'm gonna just show. But before getting any further, let's just watch this Giraffe Academy together. Hopefully they're not gonna take down my video because of using their videos. Let's see.
Reza, you said that we will learn what static means and all that next time, right?
I'm sorry.
You said we will learn what static means and like static void and all that. You said we'll learn that next time or next semester?
Next semester.
Next semester? Wow.
It's next month. It's not that even not
Yeah.
number 4.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Still,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Okay, sorry. But let's enjoy the Giraffe Academy, this nice.
My name is Mike. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk to you guys about methods in C#. Now, a method is basically just a little block of code where we can perform a specific task. So a lot of times when you're writing programs in C#, you'll have like a few lines of code, maybe like 5 or 10 lines, which are performing a specific task. Like the whole idea of having those lines in the program is that they're going to do a certain thing. So what we can actually do is we can create something called a method, which will allow us to take all that code and put it into its own little container. And then when we want to execute it and we want to perform the task that that code is going to carry out, we can just call that method and we'll be able to reuse it in different spots in our program. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how to create a method, and we're going to talk exactly about what it does and how they're useful. So what I want to do in this tutorial is I want to create a method which is going to say hi to the user. So the task of this method is going to be to say hi to whoever is using the program. So what I want to do when I create a new method is I actually want to come down out here outside of these curly brackets. So believe it or not, this line of code up here where it says static void main, this is actually a method inside of our program. So like I said, a method is just a container, or it's sort of like a block where we can put code that's going to perform a specific task. And this main method is very special because this is the method that gets executed when we run our program. So any code that I type down here in this main method gets executed when I run my program. But in addition to writing this main method, we can also define other methods that are going to work a little bit differently. But it's the same idea. We're encapsulating a bunch of code inside of its own little container. So in order to create a new method, I want to first go outside of this main method. So this main method is all the code that I have highlighted. You can see it's delineated with this open and closed curly bracket. So I'm going to come down here below this, and we can actually create a new method. So when I create my method, I need to tell C# a couple different things. And the first thing we need to do is say a keyword static. And I'm actually going to talk a lot more about what static means in later tutorials. And as of right now, it's really not super important as to what this is doing. Again, I will explain what this is, but for now, just know that we have to put static here if we're going to put our method alongside this main method. After I say static, I need to specify something called a return type. Now, these methods are awesome because they can perform specific tasks for us. And one of the things they can do is they can actually give us back information. So if I was to run one of these methods, it can actually give information back to me. And you'll see how to do that. We're going to talk more about return types in the next tutorial. But for now, I'm just going to say void. And that basically means that this method isn't going to return any information. So this is kind of like the simplest method that we can create. All right, so after I say void, I want to give this method a name. Now remember, methods are generally going to be performing a specific task. So you want to name the method based off of the task that it's performing. Our method in this tutorial is basically just going to say hi to the user. So I'm just going to call this say hi. And generally in C#, when we're creating a method, we're going to create it using a capital letter for the name. So you can see I named it just like that. You can also see up here, main was named with a capital letter. And that's just a naming convention. That's not necessary, but a lot of people are going to do that. Then what we want to put in here is an open and closed parentheses, and then an open and closed curly bracket over there. And I'm just going to go ahead and indent into this curly bracket. Any code that we put inside of these two curly brackets is going to be considered part of the method. So any code that we put in here will be run when we call our method. So I can essentially write all the code in here to perform the task that the method is designed to carry out. Remember, this method is just going to say hi to the user. So I can basically just print something out onto the screen. I'll say console.writeLine. And why don't we just come over here and say, hello, user. Our method down here has one line of code, and methods can have as many lines of code as you want. I mean, you could have, I'd say most methods have anywhere from 5 to 10 lines of code, but you can have more or less than that. It doesn't really matter. In my case, though, I just have a very simple.
Just one quick question. Michael, you mean that multi-threading and these kind of things?
Well, I mean, threading, maybe not quite yet, but I mean, you know, right, use of tasks and an introduction to async and await and such, like promises and that.
We have part of that in this semester 3, but semester 2 is mainly about object oriented. Mainly, that's like 70% of that, 75% of that is object oriented. And yeah, we don't, unless that they change it.
Yeah.
If you follow what they have done, no, the answer is no. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, it's okay.
Simple method, so it's going to be one line of code. All right, so now what I want to do is go ahead and run my program, and we'll see what happens. So I'm just going to click this start button, and you'll see over here, nothing got printed out. So even though we created our new method and we put a line of code inside this method, it didn't execute this line of code. In other words, this line of code never got executed by C#. Here's the reason. When we create a method, this code isn't going to get run automatically. Only the code that's inside of this main method is going to get run when we run our program. So because this code wasn't inside of this main method, it didn't get run. Now, if I want to execute all of the code inside of this say hi function, I can actually do something called calling it. So I can call this method. Basically, what that means is C# is going to go over to the method, execute all of the code inside of it. So the way I can call the method is just by typing out its name. I can just say hi, and I can make an open and close parentheses. And then now we should be able to execute this code. So when I run my program now, you'll see we're printing out hello user. So the code inside the method got executed. Now, essentially what's happening is whenever C# sees this line of code, what it does is it jumps over, it goes over to this say hi method, and it's going to go through and execute all of the code inside of there. Then when it's done executing the code inside of here, it's going to come back and it's going to move on to the next line of code in the main method. That's essentially what's happening. So this is extremely useful. And there's going to be a lot of circumstances where you're going to want to have methods that are doing different things, and you're going to want to have all of that code inside of its own single container. But this is really just scratching the surface of what we can do with these methods. And I want to show you guys another thing we can do. We can actually give these methods information. Inside of this say hi function, I could actually specify that this say hi function should take in some information. And this is what we would call parameters or arguments. And a parameter is basically just a value that gets passed into a method. So it's a value.
Guys, there's just one thing, something that we make mistake most of the time. I was one of those people that I always confused myself, the differences between variables and parameters or arguments. Whatever we have in the definition of function, we call it arguments or parameters. And that is something like, what if, Joseph, if you give me $1,000, tomorrow I'm going to bring you $2,000. Okay. It's like, what if? It's not any promise, right? It's just, if you give me, it's exactly like that. There is no location in the memory. Whenever you pass to a specific, then it turns to be a variable. So variable is a specific location of the memory that you say, hey, X is equal to 1,000. There is a place in the memory that you say X is equal to 1,000. But this is just saying, if you give me that, I'm going to place it here. But nothing is technically there yet.
That we would give to this method, and then it could use that value to perform its task better or do something. And the way that we can specify a parameter is just by coming in here into the open and close parentheses, and I can just basically specify what type of information I want to accept. So let's say that instead of saying hello user, we wanted this method to say hi to a particular person. Well, over here, I could specify string name. And now when I write out this line string name, I'm basically saying that the say hi method needs to take as a parameter, as an argument, one value, which is going to be a name. Then what I can do is I can come down here and I can print out hello name. You'll see we're getting an error up here when we're calling this method. That's because I didn't include a name when I called it. So now whenever I call this method, I have to pass it a string. So I'm going to pass it the string Mike. And essentially what's going to happen is this string Mike that I passed this method is going to get stored inside of this string variable, inside of this name variable, and then I'm just going to print it out. So now we should be printing out hello Mike. And you can see we get that right there. So that's one cool way that we can run these methods. And the other cool thing about methods is that I can call this code as many times as I wanted. So I could call it again and again, and each time pass in a different name. So we'll pass in Mike, John, and Tom. And now each time we call this, the method is going to do something slightly different. So it's going to say hi to someone different. So now it's saying, whoops. Now it's saying, hello, Mike, hello, John, hello, Tom. So really what we're doing is we're able to write this code in one place, and then we're able to reuse it continually inside of our program. And that's another reason why methods are awesome. In addition to just passing in one parameter, we could also specify that this should take 2 parameters. So instead of just a name, why don't we also pass in an integer age? And then down here, we can add the age in. So I can say, hello, name, you are, and then we'll just print out the age. So now when I call these methods up here, you'll see we're getting more errors because I have to give these values. So I can say like 33, 56, and 12. And now when I run my program, it's going to be able to handle that. So this method is now printing out both the name and the age that we passed in. And really, you can pass anything you want into these methods. You can pass strings and doubles. You can even pass things like arrays. It doesn't really matter. You know, any value that you want to work with, you can pass into here as long as you can specify it over there. So that's kind of the basics of working with methods. Now, I will say, you'll hear most of the time people are going to call these methods. You'll also hear people refer to these as functions. Methods and functions are essentially the same thing. There is a small difference just in the definition, but generally you can use the word method and the word function interchangeably. And you'll hear a lot of people call these functions. You also hear a lot of people call them methods. But generally in C#, like the official term would be a method. So that's really why methods are useful. You can kind of see, you know, we were essentially able to reuse all the code that we wrote down here. So I can reuse it and give it different information, and it'll do different things. Now, in the next video, I'm going to talk to you guys about this value over here, which is going to be the return value. So in addition to passing information into methods, methods can also pass information back to the callers. And we're going to talk about that in the next tutorial.
Okay, so the thing is, yeah, he advertised at the end about his channel. I wanted to show the borrow code as well, but because it takes almost 7 minutes, I thought that it's not a bad idea to start our next session watching that to refresh our memory and then learn something new from borrow code. There are a few things that I want to repeat again, and one is the exam second test that we have is going to happen in 2 weeks. And the other thing is, as we just started learning about methods, functions, for instance, here I said public static void do nothing, and I'm gonna, based on what I learned here, I can just say string name, and I'm gonna just say, let's just use it in a nice way. So I'm gonna just say I do nothing, and my name is name, right? So here I have an issue. Why it gives me error? Joseph, can you help me?
Because you got to specify what the
Lovely.
within the public or sorry, the main section, you have to specify what do nothing is.
Well, actually, we need to, as you said, we need to say, for instance, Reza here, because we want to have name. I just said, I promised that I'm going to give you
A name.
name, but when it comes to the real, I don't have anything over there, right? So that is yes, Michael, bravo. And the thing is, if now I run it, it's gonna work fine the way that you see. And let's just do something. But I don't want you to answer now. Actually, this is my question. Mike in Giraffe Academy said that whenever we don't return anything, we just have this thingy void because we don't return integer or something. But when I run that, it returns something on my screen. So I have no answer at the moment. Think about it. Next session, we are going to start with that. Just last thing I want to do. Let's add two numbers. You don't need to have that lengthy kind of things, but I'm going to just say as the last thing, what if I say int num1, comma, int num2, and I just say the sum would be, this is not my style, I say, but because we are in rush, so num1 plus num2, and then let's say I'm gonna pass 10 comma 20, and if I just run the code, it is going to show that the sum would be 30, right? That kind of thing. So we could have integers, we could have strings, and I'm sorry, we already passed that. If there is any question, any concern, I know that I asked one of you, I see just one person present in the class. The other person said, let's just have another week. I asked that we need to go through the assignments together. If you are willing to have that session, just please type 1 in the private message. If you don't want to go through that, so we are going to keep everything as it is and we move forward. For the rest of the friends that they are in the class, I do appreciate your presence. As always, thank you for your active participation. And I learned a lot. I'm going to have just only one assignment. I'm going to define only one assignment because we didn't cover that much. So it's going to be a kind of shorter version of assignments compared to what we had before. If there's no question, nothing, thank you again and have a wonderful one. See you next week.
Thank you.
Take care.
See ya.
See you.
Sorry, which assignment are you discussing, Reza?
The next assignment, I'm going to define it by tonight before the midnight, but we are not going to have two assignments like assignment and alternative. We are going to just have one assignment.
Okay. No problem. Thank you.
It's gonna be small by itself. So the alternative of a small is gonna be mini small. I don't want that. So just one assignment. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
No worries. Harvard, do you want to go to your assignment?
Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Let's do it.
So
Can I ask how long it's gonna take? Because it's I'm fasting because it's Ramadan, so like I gotta be like a little bit like quick.
well, you need to break your fast in the evening.
No, that's like yeah, it's in like yeah, it's in the evening, yeah.
I know, so it has nothing to do with your fasting.
Yeah, no, but it's like I have to go like to pray.
Do you want to go to pray and come back and I provide a link for you?
No, it's fine. But I can do it right now.
Okay.
So like how do you want me to share my screen or do you want to
Okay. First thing, let me just say, Farhina, do you want to, okay, just let me just make sure that